In a quaint village nestled between rolling hills, a tale of terror whispered through the generations. The villagers spoke of a grave in the old cemetery that held a dark secret, a grave that no one dared approach after sunset. This was the Enchanted Grave, said to be cursed and filled with an ancient. One fateful evening, a curious young historian named Emily arrived in the village. She had heard the legends and was determined to uncover the truth. The locals warned her, but her determination was unshakable. She set up camp near the cemetery, planning to explore the grave at the stroke of midnight. As the clock struck 12, a thick fog rolled in, and the air grew cold. Armed with a lantern and her journal, Emily ventured into the cemetery. The silence was oppressive, broken only by the occasional rustling of leaves. She found the enchanted grave easily. It was marked by an old, weathered tombstone covered in strange symbols. Emily began to sketch the symbols, her hand trembling slightly. As she traced the final symbol, a low, guttural whisper filled the air. She spun around, but no one was there. The ground beneath her feet started to tremble, and the grave began to glow with an eerie, green light. Suddenly, a spectral figure emerged from the grave. It was a ghostly apparition, dressed in tattered robes, its face a mask of torment. Emily stumbled back, her heart pounding. The ghost spoke in a voice that seemed to echo from another world. "You have awakened me, trespasser. Now, you shall pay the price." Terrified, Emily tried to flee, but her feet felt like they were rooted to the ground. The ghost raised a skeletal hand, and the symbols on the tombstone began to glow brighter. Emily felt a cold, invisible force wrap around her, pulling her towards the grave. Desperate, she remembered an old charm her grandmother had given her, a small silver pendant said to ward off evil. With all her strength, she clutched the pendant and shouted an incantation her grandmother had taught her. The ghost let out a shriek, and the force holding Emily released her. The spectral figure began to fade, its cries of rage echoing through the cemetery. The green light dimmed, and the symbols on the tombstone went dark. Emily, gasping for breath, stumbled out of the cemetery, vowing never to return. She left the village at dawn, the villagers' warnings echoing in her mind. The enchanted grave remained, its dark power subdued but not vanquished. And the legend continued, warning future generations of the danger that lurked within the old cemetery, a reminder that some secrets are better left buried. Years passed, and the tale of Emily's encounter with the enchanted grave became a hushed warning among the villagers. The grave remained undisturbed until a group of adventurous teenagers, eager to test their bravery, decided to explore the old cemetery. Among them was Liam, a skeptic who dismissed the stories as mere folklore. On a dare, the group gathered at the cemetery on a moonless night. Armed with flashlights and bravado, they approached the enchanted grave. The air was thick with tension as they stood around the old tombstone, the symbols still faintly visible under the moonlight. Liam, determined to prove his disbelief, stepped forward and touched the tombstone. "See? It's just a stone," he scoffed. But as he did, the ground beneath them began to shudder. A cold wind swept through the cemetery, extinguishing their flashlights. Panic set in as the ghostly figure from years before reappeared, its eyes glowing with malevolent fury. The teenagers screamed, but their voices were swallowed by the night. The ghost's voice, a chilling echo, rang out, "Foolish children, you dare disturb my rest again?" The ghost's power surged, and the teenagers felt an icy grip around them. Desperate and terrified, Liam remembered a story he had overheard from the villagers about Emily's pendant. "We need something to break the curse," he shouted. One of the girls, Sarah, pulled out a silver bracelet her grandmother had given her, claiming it was a charm against evil. She held it up, reciting a prayer her grandmother had taught her. The ghost recoiled, its form flickering, emboldened. The teenagers joined hands, forming a circle around Sarah as she continued her prayer. The ghost let out a deafening wail, its form dissolving into a mist. The symbols on the tombstone glowed one last time before fading into nothingness. Exhausted and shaken, the teenagers fled the cemetery, vowing to never speak of what happened. But as they left, Liam noticed something strange in an old journal lying by the grave. untouched by time. He picked it up, recognizing it as Emily's. Back in the safety of their homes, they gathered to read the journal. Emily's entries detailed her research and the incantation that had saved her. They realized that the Enchanted Grave held more than just a ghost. It was a portal to a darker realm, guarded by ancient symbols and a malevolent spirit. Determined to put an end to the curse, the teenagers decided to seek out Emily, hoping she was still alive and could help them. Their journey led them to a secluded cabin in the woods, where an older, wiser Emily greeted them with knowing eyes. Together, they formulated a plan to seal the portal for good. Under Emily's guidance, they gathered the necessary items and returned to the cemetery one final time. With Emily leading the ritual, they chanted the incantation, their voices rising in unison. The ground trembled, and the ghost reappeared, its fury palpable. But this time, the combined power of Emily's knowledge and the teenager's bravery overwhelmed it. The portal sealed, and the ghost vanished in a blinding flash of light. The Enchanted Grave returned to its eerie silence, the symbols on the tombstone finally fading away. The village, once haunted by the curse, was free at last. And Emily, her mission complete, watched the teenagers leave, knowing they had become the new guardians of the village's darkest secret.